Hello everybody, welcome to the Wonky Angle, where I talk about electronic music, both new and old. And today I'm talking about the new album from Bonobo, Migration. Bonobo, aka Simon Green, is well known as one of the more popular artists on the Ninja Tune label, alongside Amon Tobin, Cold Cut, Cinematic Orchestra, DJ Food, Odessa, and many others. Unsurprisingly, given that lineup of label mates, he loves his jazz breaks. To be perfectly honest, he's not the most creative of the Ninja Tune veterans. I think Amon Tobin has that honor. But he is one of the most fun to listen to. It's kind of difficult to put into words, really. He's got a pretty simplistic style, but his chilled out down-tempo sound is both just like all the other Ninja Tune giants, but also nothing like them. I could certainly do a discography review of this guy, but it'd probably be pretty short, as I don't have a ton of things to say about him. The guy's kind of developed a formula of sorts over the years, but he hasn't really gotten old either. And on that note, I'll go down his discography so far. It's good. Not great, but good. It's significantly better. I really like every song on here. One of the guy's best, for sure. This one was enhanced by the addition of vocal guests. And despite that, I don't think this is one of the guy's better ones. I really like the middle section from Keto to On Your Marks, but the rest doesn't leave as strong an impression as I'd like. It's fantastic. It was on my favorite albums of all time list. Every single song on here is great. Okay, it's not as good as Black Sands, but still absolutely worth your time. Which brings us to here. So yeah, while I don't love every album he's ever put out, I do love two of them, I really like another one of them, and I think the other two are still good enough to keep on my iPod and return to every now and then. Of course, I was excited to get into this. As I always do, I didn't listen to any of the pre-release singles to avoid spoiling myself, and basically the second this dropped, I bought it on iTunes and got it on my iPod, ready for another great Bonobo experience. How did it turn out? Well, okay, for me it doesn't hit quite the same heights as Black Sands or Dial M for Monkey, but I am at least pleased to say it comes close. I'd say it's around the same level as North Borders. On first listen, I wasn't particularly taken with it, and was kinda scared we'd get another Days to Come, in which I only really liked the middle section. As like that album, this one didn't really get going for me until track 5, Second Son. But unlike Days to Come, first of all, the album at least kept up its momentum through to the end, and once I re-listened to it right after that, I suddenly realized I like some of the earlier tracks as well. I will have to admit there was one track that never really grew on me, and that was Break Apart with Rye. This track felt like a weaker and less impactful version of like Scale It Back by DJ Shadow and Little Dragon. And not to mention, just otherwise felt like every Bonobo song ever and highlighted what a formula abuser the guy can be sometimes. But I can't say I ever really felt the urge to skip it either. The rest though, this is some good stuff. Even if there was nothing on here as instantly lovable as Cirrus or El Toro, and everything took a bit to grow on me. Going down track by track, the opener Untitled track didn't seem like it'd be that memorable at first, but it later sounded like it could have been his remix of Oxygen Part 14 or something. It's got some similar rhythms even if the songs otherwise sound nothing alike. And I think it really works for what it is, even if it also didn't hit me right away. Then there's the track Outlier, which at first passed right by, with me barely even noticing it happened at all. But it's a nearly 8-minute track, so I kept coming back to it, and sure enough, its upbeat rhythms combined with its warmer synth tones make for a very nice and unique track that grew on me quite a lot. I'm not used to seeing Bonobo use synths in this way. I think reminds me maybe a tiny bit of like One O Tricks Point Never, maybe? Grains was a little off-putting for me, and admittedly still isn't a huge standout for me, but the weird vocals on this track are certainly interesting, if nothing else. But like I said, the point at which this album really started to get good for me was the track Second Son. It's a very warm and emotional track, really got a film soundtrack sort of vibe, and I absolutely loved it almost immediately. And after that, we get like 5 more great tracks in a row. We got Surface, which is kind of like this album's equivalent to Nightlight from Days to Come, being the 6th track on each respective album, and also the really catchy vocal track that I didn't expect to love as much as I did. I think I even prefer this one a little bit more. Then we get the track Bambro, Koyo, Ganda, which is another consistent favorite of mine. The inclusion of the traditional African singing really helps it stand out. Really fun track. Then we get Corolla, a track which I admittedly wasn't expecting to like that much given how I thought Break Apart was fairly But between the harps and the catchy vocals that almost invoke Burial of all people, I was really caught off guard and also became a quick favorite. Ontario's another track that took a bit more to grow on me, but the odd instrumentation, I don't know what kind of guitar was in there, like maybe it was a mandolin or something, I don't know. Honestly, the interesting instrumentation and jazz influences throughout this album actually remind me a lot of this one non-electronic artist that I love named Andreas Vollenweider. I'd highly recommend checking that guy out. He's basically the entire antithesis to the statement, New Age music is lame. I could definitely do a series on that guy, but I digress. Well, then we get into No Reason featuring Chet Faker, another one of those, like, long 7-minute tracks. Chet Faker on this track reminds me a lot of Grey Reverend on First Fires, the opener track to North Borders, but I think this track is both more electronic and also even catchier than that one was. Another really quick favorite for me. Then there's 7th Sevens, which was admittedly kind of forgettable compared to the last handful of tracks, but I love the ethnic percussion, and it gets right into that warm Bonobo territory eventually, not a track I'd ever consider skipping. And finally, we end with Figures, whose main asset is, unfortunately, its pitch-shifted vocals, but it's a nice catchy track, and I think it finishes off this album on a strong note regardless. So, overall, this album took a few days to fully digest and really get into, but I'd say it was worth it in the end. I think this album right now is about tied with the North Borders, quality-wise. I mean, obviously it's no Black Sands, but it's not really trying to be either. Just Bonobo continuing with his experimenting more with world music instrumentation and trying more electronic sounding stuff too. I really enjoyed sitting down with this album and letting it all soak in. I love this album's warm, chilled out atmosphere as per usual, and I'm looking forward to whatever the guy plans on doing next. I'm overall feeling a 7.7 out of 10, but of course this is just my opinion, you can feel free to disagree with it, but I'd like to hear your thoughts, so leave the comments in the comment thing down there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all for today. See you next time.